Good morning. Welcome again to West Coast Leaf's 19th annual fundraising breakfast. Since 1989, West Coast Leaf has hosted a fundraising breakfast around this time of year to commemorate International Women's Day. It provides us with an opportunity to celebrate the progress that has been made towards women achieving full participation in the social, economic, and political life of our communities, and to consider what steps still need to be made to achieve full equality. Since the inception of the breakfast, we have heard from 18 outstanding women who have dedicated their lives to advancing equality for women. They have done this in their capacity as judges, senators, deputy ministers, authors, filmmakers, lawyers, and simply as concerned women. Until this past year, when Sarah Weddington, counsel on U.S. Supreme Court case Roe v. Wade, spoke, all our speakers have been Canadian. This year, we have once again looked beyond our national borders for a speaker. We are thrilled to celebrate International Women's Day with Iranian lawyer and human rights activist Dr. Shirin Ebadi. Known in Iran as the Woman of Steel, Dr. Ebadi is an outspoken advocate for human rights, particularly for women and children. She pursued studies in law at the University of Tehran in 1965 and was appointed a judge in 1970. She was 23. While serving as a judge, she continued her education and obtained her master's degree in 1971. At 28, she became the president of the city court in Tehran, the first woman to hold such a position. Iran was under Shah rule at this time, a constitutional monarchy. Under Shah regime, women were able to work outside the home. However, there was significant political and religious opposition in Iran to the Shah government. In particular, Ayatollah Khomeini, who was living in exile and would later become the leader of the Iranian Revolution, was urging Iranians to denounce the Shah government. And in 1979, the Iranian Revolution overthrew the Shah regime. The new government chose to interpret Islamic laws barring women from being judges. In less than a year, Dr. Ebadi was stripped of her judgeship at 32 and demoted to a secretarial position at the branch where she had previously presided. The worst was to come, the imposition of the Islamic Penal Code. When Dr. Ebadi first read the draft, she said, "I was convinced I was hallucinating." Eventually, Dr. Ebadi requested early retirement as the situation at the court remained unchanged. She was barred for the next 12 years from practicing law, and so she turned to writing and constructing arguments for applying international human rights law within the framework of the Iranian constitution. Dr. Ebadi advocates reformed Islam, an interpretation of Islamic law which allows for greater conformity with international human rights. As she puts it, "If I am forced to ferret through the musty books of Islamic jurisprudence and rely on sources that stress egalitarian ethics in Islam, so be it. Is it harder this way? Of course it is. But is there an alternative battlefield? Desperate wishing aside, I cannot see one." When Dr. Ebadi was able to resume her legal career in 1993, she plunged immediately into representing political prisoners, journalists, students, and others seeking to exercise international human rights. She successfully sought justice for members of the Iranian intellectual community who had been murdered by members of the Iranian intelligence ministry. Dr. Ebadi worked to reveal the truth behind the attack in 1999 on the students at the University of Tehran that resulted in a number of injuries and deaths. She also represented the family of Zahra Kazemi, the Iranian-Canadian photojournalist who was tortured and killed while in detention in Iran. Her efforts to bring equality to women and children in Iran have brought threats on her life, assassination attempts, and she has been jailed for her view and her work. Despite these dangers, Dr. Ebadi continues to advance the cause of human rights in Iran. In the face of these overwhelming obstacles, Dr. Ebadi also succeeded in creating the first officially recognized independent non-governmental human rights organization in Iran, the Society for the Protection of the Rights of the Child. She also helped found the Center for Defense of Human Rights, the only Iranian organization that provides free legal assistance to families of imprisoned journalists, student activists, and other human rights victims in Iran. She also teaches at university. Each year, a number of students from outside Iran join her in her human rights training course. And if this was not enough to preoccupy one person's time, over the course of her career, she has written 14 books and over 100 articles. Her memoir, Iran Awakening, which she had to file a lawsuit to get published in the United States, is a national bestseller and a passionate and inspiring story about how Dr. Ebadi chose to remain in Iran and work from change from within. Dr. Ebadi is one of the leading human rights activists in the world. In 2003, the Norwegian Nobel Committee awarded her the most distinguished award an individual can receive, the Nobel Peace Prize. This first female Iranian judge became the first Muslim woman and the first Iranian to win this award. In the history of the award, Dr. Ebadi was the 11th woman out of 95 individuals to be so honored. Dr. Ebadi had a powerful message in her Nobel speech about the human rights of women throughout the world. She said, "My selection will be an inspiration to the masses of women who are striving to realize their rights. Women constitute half the population of every country. To disregard women and bar them from active participation in political, social, economic, and cultural life is to deprive the world and the entire population of every society half of its capability." Dr. Ebadi is an individual who not only articulates great ideas, but also provides an example of how to live a principled and engaged life, committed to the ideals of human rights, bringing both courage and passion to the struggle for justice. Her courage is a reminder that the human spirit cannot be contained in the pursuit of basic human rights. She is an inspiration to us all, not only because of her work, but also through the sheer force of her will. In addition to the Nobel Peace Prize, our guest speaker has received 15 honorary doctorates, 5 from universities in Canada, the International Democracy Award, the Lawyer of the Year Award, the Legion of Honor Award, and countless other tributes to her intelligence, courage, passion, and good common sense. It is a great honor for me to introduce to you the recipient of the 2003 Nobel Peace Prize. Dr. Ebadi will be speaking to us with the translation support of Mr. Kian Ghaffari. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Shirin Ebadi.
همکاران ارجمند، خانم‌ها و آقایان، بسیار خوشحالم که توانستم مجدداً به شهر زیبای ونکوور بیام و با شما صحبت کنم. از کلیه افرادی که برای تشکیل این جلسه زحمت کشیدند و مقدمات سفر من را فراهم کردند سپاسگزارم. همچنین از مؤسساتی که با حمایت خود وست کوست لیو رو یاری بخشیدند ممنونم. خانم ها و آقایان، هرچند در هزاره سوم میلادی هستیم، هرچند که بشر در علم و تکنولوژی به پیشرفت‌های نائل آمده که 50 سال قبل در حد رؤیا یا آرزو بود،